Hello everybody, welcome to SFF180. Thomas here. Thank you so much, as usual, for joining me. This week I am contributing to the BooktubeSFF Babbles discussions. This video actually was supposed to go up on Thursday, but I was up to do it, but I ended up feeling just kind of gross and, headachy, sort of. Maybe it's with the changes in the weather and all the rain, but just didn't feel up to the work. But here we are now, so thank you all, as usual, for joining me. All right, on the subject of fantasy. Now, I'm not going to give you a hard time. If all you read is Brandon Sanderson, right? Well, okay. Actually, I lied. I will give you a hard time if that's all you read. But no, seriously though, the point is that when you are a reviewer and you've got books falling out of your books, it's very easy to lose your perspective and forget that, for most people, you've got limited time on your hands, especially if you've got, family, school, work commitments, you've got limited funds. And so, most folks may only read, even if they like to read for entertainment, they only may be able to get a book or two in a month, if that much, right? So most folks, when they choose what they're going to read, are usually going to go for something that's very familiar to them, a favorite author, or they may end up reading just a really popular book, something that all their other friends are reading, so they'll have something to talk about, what have you. But naturally, this means that you're not necessarily inclined to go out, off the beaten path, out of your comfort zone and seek new, different, strange things. Not necessarily that you're against that idea. Actually, people just don't have that much time or money. So that is where reviewers come in. We're the ones who try to steer folks towards new and different things that you might think are very, very interesting. But to be honest, if you're a new writer, if you're trying to establish a foothold, build a fan base, that sort of thing, it can be very, very tough. And so here is my contribution to the overlooked fantasies topic this week. Here are four fantasy novels that you probably missed that I think are worth your time to check out. Also, and this should be obvious for the sake of this video, these are just going to be very, very quick capsule reviews covering the fundamentals. If you want to see my usual in-depth review treatment, well, I'll provide the links. They'll just pop up as each book comes up. And then you can go to the website and read my full-length review there. Also, I'll make Amazon links available. Babylon Steel appeared at the onset of 2012 and was one of the more worthy debuts of its year. Now, the story is set in a glittering city named Scalantine, which exists on a plane that kind of serves as a multi-universe, multi-dimensional hub where all manner of life forms come together and congregate. Now, Babylon Steel is the madam of a very popular upscale brothel, the Red Lantern, and one day she is asked by a friend of hers who works for the diplomatic section if she will nose around among her underground connections to help locate the daughter of a prominent family of diplomats who has gone missing shortly before her scheduled wedding. Now, the entire family, of course, is screaming, "Oh, abduction, abduction," but who knows, really? Maybe? The girl could have just sort of scampered off on her own? Babylon's search soon forces her to confront her own distressing hidden past, a past that she had hoped she'd escaped forever. What begins as a warm and witty and even fluffy tale soon evolves into something much more serious, much deeper, and more epic in scope. The culture of Scalantine, with its generally more progressive attitudes towards sex and intimacy, is contrasted with theocracy, with its obsessive need to dominate the lives and the bodies of women. Now, if what you get a kick out of are characters who are lovable and quirky, well, then you'll be in good company with the staff of the Red Lantern, Babylon's best little whorehouse in the universe. But if you also like fantasies that are, deeper, with more complex themes and cultures and history and world building, all that sort of thing, well, then you will find a whole lot to admire in Gay Sebold's memorable debut. Mark Chadburn's The Silver Skull, which is titled The Swords of Albion in the UK, is the first volume in his Albion trilogy, and it is an Elizabethan fantasy that is kind of being sold as a James Bond sort of riff, in which the Crown's master spy, Will Swift, must do battle against Spectre, or otherwise known as the Unseelie Court, whose plans are to locate the titular artifact, the Silver Skull, which is a sort of magical bio-WMD that will spread plague and pestilence and woe and death all across England. But they also need 2 additional artifacts, the Key and the Shield, in order to protect themselves against the blight they intend to start. And so Will Swift must spring into action to keep those items out of their hands at all costs. Now, as with a lot of historical fantasy, we get historical figures occasionally appearing. Dr. John Dee, for example, appears here as Elizabeth's chief sorcerer, and he's sort of like Q. You know, he gives Will Swift all these cool little gadgets and, magical shit in order to help him out on his missions. But the book is just smashing entertainment in which swashes are enthusiastically buckled. We get daring escapes, swordplay, skullduggery, betrayals, all kinds of cliffhangers, and eventually a massive climactic sea battle. Because why not? So if pure action adventure is what you've been hankering for, well, look no further. Now, taking things in a slightly darker direction, the urban fantasy of Blood and Honey earned Stina Light a nomination for John W. Campbell Award, Best New Writer, 2 years running. Now, full disclosure, Stina and I have been personal friends for a little over 20 years now. But that's not something that's going to get you any special treatment around here, rest assured. Still, the book is extraordinary. There's been nothing like it in fantasy before or since, and its very existence, to be honest, is a risky proposition. After all, it's one thing to write yet another novel about a brewing war between the mortal world of humans and the magical realm of the Fae, but it is another thing altogether to set that fantasy scenario against the real-world backdrop of the conflicts in 1970s Northern Ireland, known with great understatement as the Troubles. And you are pretty much asking for it if you plan to do this as a newbie American writer who has never so much as set foot in the country you're planning to write about, a country in which that particular period of history is a touchy subject. Mindful of the fact that grossly offending most of the population of an entire country would be counterproductive to the aims of launching a writing career, Stina threw herself into several years of research and befriended a number of folks online from Northern Ireland and Derry in particular, including some people who were there present during Bloody Sunday. And with their help in vetting the manuscript for accuracy as well as, I guess, cultural sensitivity, you might say, Stina crafted a delicately balanced and yet unflinching and often savage story that is portrayed as the personal journey of its hero, Liam Kelly, the son of a human mother and a Fae father, who is himself a puka, kind of a werewolf, who, to his great chagrin, has inherited his father's shape-shifting abilities. Liam is torn between the conflicts at home as he falls in with the IRA, and the other war brewing between realities. The story feels authentic, almost as if Ken Loach actually directed a fantasy film. The emotions are raw, and the violence is often ruthless. The book is like a literary car bomb. Stina Light took a major gamble, and the result is an uncompromising work of modern fantasy that actually cuts. Finally, Have Mercy was the 2008 debut of 20-year-old college students Jada Jones and Danielle Bennett. Now it's set in a kingdom named Volstov, which has been at war for right around a century with its neighbors, the Kihon Empire. Now Volstov has, for a little while, had a bit of an upper hand in this conflict, thanks to the fact that their magicians have created an air corps for them, in which trained pilot warriors fly on the backs of mechanical dragons. Now, Jada and Danny have a great deal of fun playing around with epic fantasy tropes. Their magicians are nothing at all like Gandalf. You know, they're more like tabloid celebrities or rock stars. They're every bit as likely to be involved in some juicy scandal as they are in sorcery. But mostly, Have Mercy is a character-driven story, focusing mainly on 2 very different relationships between male characters, one romantic, the other platonic, and both of them told with an enormous amount of both comedy and compassion. And while it would have been nice to see more of the dragons, there is a terrific climactic battle scene, and Jada and Denny went on to write 3 sequels. Now, they haven't really published much recently. In fact, as I understand it, Denny has had some serious health problems that she's been dealing with lately, but I'm hopeful that before too long, they will get right back into that mechanical saddle once again. And that is my babble for this week, everybody. 4 fantasy novels that you probably overlooked, but which I think, if you give them a try, you'll really enjoy yourself. Are there any books that you've read that you really liked that you think the community or SFF fandom at large grossly overlooked? Well then, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. That is how SFF180 grows as a channel. And until I see all of you guys next time, happy reading!